So we are live, right? So we'll be waiting for a few more people here and get started.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it looks like we have a number of attendees on. Welcome. We're excited to have you with us today. My name is Noel Fisher. I'm an advisor at Howell Associates. I've been working in the brand protection industry actually since 2004 when I worked with David Howell, long, long time ago. And so I'm excited to be here today to share this conversation that David and I are going to have. And David, I'll let you introduce yourself too.
Yeah, thank you, Noel. First, it's glad to actually have you on as an advisor here in Howell Associates. As Noel mentioned, he and I've known each other for quite some time. I don't think we like to admit that we're actually that old or been in this industry for that long. But no, it's a good value to have him as part of the group and a good advisor and kind of help us guide us down some of the paths because not one person can always know a little bit of everything and directions you go. So again, thanks, Noel. A little bit about myself. For those who don't know, my name is David Howell. I'm a managing partner and founder of Howell & Associates. So we're I won't call us a traditional brand protection firm, but we're definitely a kind of a professional services in and around brand protection. And it seems like, that's a very large umbrella, I think you'd say nowadays, Noel. But it's kind of migrated really down to that channel compliance where we still do a lot of the traditional, if you need a UDRP or a domain investigation or, social media takedown, things of that nature. But it's really geared more with the world we live in is where can somebody, a bad faith player, I guess, out there infringe on another brand, and it comes down to where they can make money. They can make money from, whether it's traditional retail arbitrage or rogue distribution and getting that product onto a marketplace or a third-party site and then sell it. So we'll be touching base on some of that today. So I've been doing it for 19 years now, which is where the gray hairs come in, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some here too, for sure.
Well, good, but yeah, thanks for hosting this today, Noel, and we'll dive into some of these Q&A. I know we got a lot of people that are popping in here. We are recording this, so we'll have this live for anybody who wants to share it later. And I think we'll do some Q&A at the end and kind of go there. So I'll hand it off to you, Noel, and kind of guide this down.
Yeah. So really, why are we here today? So that's really what we wanted to just introduce this topic here. We appreciate all the attendees and the great feedback that we've gotten from doing this webinar. But so why, David, are we here today?
Well, I think, you and I have been having a lot of conversations with a lot of clients. We've also done some other podcasts and we work with other industry professionals. I think what it come down to is what are we going to expect in the next, 3-6 months, right? I mean, we'd all like to, everybody used to want to have these 24-month business plans and projections and things. You can't do that anymore. The world we live in, and I don't want to focus too much on, COVID and the quarantine and that, but it has affected where we are today, and it's affected some of the things that we've done. So what you and I kind of put our heads together and why we wanted to have this discussion today was really around our clients' frustration on the brick and mortar closing down, more people at home, more people shopping online, and then just the sheer loss of jobs that's happened out there, and people trying to make a buck, I guess you would say, or make some kind of a living. And a lot of them are turning to that how do I get product and sell on Amazon? How do I get product sell on eBay? How do I do these types of things? And it's been a big resurgence back to, remember, E-commerce for Dummies kind of a book that was out there. Well, now we're seeing that again. And if a company can get their hands on product, they're gonna list it. And going into the holiday season, I think you and I had this brief conversation yesterday. We're going into the holiday season here, and we're going to have more people at home. We're going to get another stimulus coming down the pipe. People are still going to be buying product. They're still going to be celebrating the holiday season. They're still going to be doing those types of things, but they're not either one going to have the option to go to brick and mortar because of maybe the quarantine or the shut-in. Maybe they're going to have limited access to some of that. And then unfortunately, I even got the reports today, 850 stores, I believe, JCPenney closing down, GNC closing down, Brook Brothers. You've got a lot of these, Carter's, again, we already know they shut down, but they showed 50% decrease in sales. When stores like that on the larger brick and mortar, when those big box stores close down, a lot of that product then is going to get sold. And we're going through that right now with the Gordmans, I think Pier 1 Imports. I mean, these are all being sold. Those products now being sold at 50, 70% on. It doesn't mean there's not consumers still for those products. So where is that going to show up? It's going to show up onto the marketplaces, and it's going to be our manufacturers that's going to get hit with some of that stuff.
That's great. So I wanted to talk today about 5 things. That was the topic here. So let's talk about these 5 issues that we think that are going to be visible here over this holiday season. What we can do to help educate, help teach, help share this message of what we think is going to happen. So appreciate that. So I've heard from a few clients recently about distribution issues. So I think it'd be good to understand a little bit about where we are today with COVID, with all the things that have been happening with Amazon, third-party marketplace. So why do you think these distribution issues that we've been hearing about are issues?
Well, I think there's a couple aspects or way to answer that. One of the first is when you talk about distribution, companies usually will have 1, 2, or 3 step distribution. They'll have directed distribution, regardless on how they have that set up. You have to understand distributors are there to move product, right? And if you've got a really good relationship with your distributor, those types of things, then you're a little bit more secure, right? But if you don't have a good relationship, or you have a few different distributors that are out there, those distributors are going to liquidate product or move product to whoever wants to purchase it. And I'm going to use an example, like an Ace Hardware example. People don't understand Ace Hardware is a cooperative, right? Ace Hardware corporate acts as a distributor, and now those 6,000 stores, or maybe it's 5,000 stores nationwide, they now can all purchase product through Ace Hardware Direct as a big distributor, and they're getting product at a very low cost. And all these mom and pops all over, even here in Eagle, we have a little Eagle, Ace Hardware. Yep. They have a store on Amazon, and now they could sell, whether it's like a client of ours, Looflighter, or some of these others, they could sell them at a discount and start disrupting that channel. And they may not know. And that's the problem. Distributors may not know you have a very tight channel. And then the people buying the product, and this is something that another one of my partners that we've been dealing with, Maurice, that the distributor is moving product and telling them how to sell it on marketplaces, which is a violation of the brand, but the brand hasn't educated. So now you got this leakage in distribution, whether it be intentional or unintentional. We have to understand that and then put the right policies and procedures in place to tighten up that distribution. That's one aspect of it. Let's talk about once that has gone through. Let's say your distribution's out there. Let's say you use, a lot of our clients use Amazon Prime. They use Amazon FBA quite a bit. Here's another issue that I'm concerned about is if you have FBA and we run into another resurgence or we run into another issue. Here in the Boise market, I don't know how it was nationally. I can only assume, but here in the Pacific Northwest, I guess you would say, we ran into a problem where Amazon wasn't shipping product for almost 40 days. Okay, that was one aspect of it, which now you're changing some of that buying habits over to eBay and other stuff, which I know we'll touch on. But that was one issue. Another issue is our clients couldn't even get product into FBA. Yeah. So now you got warehouses that are shut down. They won't accept product that are deemed non-essential. Well, what does that mean? We're here, unfortunately, this virus and everything that happened, regardless where you stand politically, it has been politicized quite a bit. So could there be another resurgence? Could we go through another quarantine or shutdown? Does Amazon get affected with that? And if that shuts down the warehouses for influx of product during a holiday season, how do we adjust for that? How do we predict that. And that's only one aspect of the Amazon distribution channel. The other is we heard these things about, the pandemic actually hitting one distribution center, shutting it down. We've heard other distribution centers threatening to go on strike. What's going to really happen? And we don't know. We have to kind of look in the crystal ball and say, we hope these things don't happen, but we kind of got to plan for it, right? So I always say hope is not a strategy, but we should hope for the best, but plan for the worst. So knowing what happened during that March, April, May timeframe, let's make sure that doesn't happen again. And if it does happen again, how can we adjust for that? So a lot of our clients have been asking about diversification. We still want to focus on Amazon. You have to, right? But we've had a handful of our clients fire back up their eBay stores as an overflow. I had one client where during that, their direct commerce, I haven't heard about this since the 2000s, but their website went down, totally crashed because the amount of product and amount of traffic they had, because their website where they could take transactions, their website was more of an information, right? They were driving people to the Amazon channel.
And so what you're saying though is that because of COVID, if we do run into distribution issues again, we really need to, our manufacturers, our customers, brands need to make sure that their channel, that they have multiple channels then. Is that what you're saying? So that's your suggestion. If we do have this COVID issue, if Amazon's not shipping non-essential items, then they need to be making sure that their distribution into their, on their website's working well, that there's other types of channels that they can be utilizing, like a Walmart or something else to sell product?
Yeah, it's a little bit about diversification. I mean, you never can count Amazon out, and I'm not even remotely saying that. I'm saying that if you run very tight distribution, because having FBA product in Amazon costs money and it's a percentage. The more you have, the more that margin erodes. Some of them manage it very closely, so they keep a very limited amount and manage that inventory within Amazon. Well, once that product was gone, and then Amazon was not allowing anything back into distribution, it really kind of choked that channel, and that's what we're trying to avoid. And let's be honest, these big buck retailers that are closing down, these different things that are happening out there, the consumers are not. People are still going to be spending money. People are still going to be looking for the product. And when you're talking, and I know we have a lot of participants on the call today that are in the outdoor industry. I did a podcast last week, and I was joking saying that bicycles are the new toilet paper, right? And what I was really getting at is, travel shut down, a lot of this different stuff. So people are camping, hiking, outdoors. They're doing a lot of this stuff, and they still want those products. But if they can't get them because distribution's tight, and here in the Boise market, a lot of our bike shops are sold out, right? A lot of our outdoor stores are sold out of this product because whether they can't get it in, whether manufacturing slowed down, there could be a lot of different reasons. But the need for these products are still out there, the desire to buy them. And if that's today, what's it going to look like when we start going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the holiday season? And if there's any scare with the election, with the COVID, with any of this kind of stuff, are you prepared for that, right?
All right, so let's talk a little bit about being prepared. So we do have a number of our customers that are selling on Amazon, and that's a big part of their business. They do sell online on their website. So what is it going to look like this holiday season, and like specifically with third-party sellers? And what if you're a boutique shop? What do you do now?
Well, I think that there's two ways to answer that. So as far as what's it going to look like with the holiday season, I think you're going to see a massive increase on the e-commerce Amazon shopping. You're just going to. We've already seen that. We're seeing a lot of that now. When you've got these stores that I've been talking about that are closing, a lot of these stores, and it's probably to their dismay, where they talk, the reason we call it Black Friday is because that one shopping day of the year put the companies into black, and then they were profitable for the rest of the year. A lot of those were the Gordmans or the Pier 1s or Bed Bath & Beyond or things like that. Well, those stores that had huge sales during this holiday season, those are going to be gone. And they're not going to be there. Shoe stores, all this different stuff that's out there. So they're going to be pushing pretty hard on the online e-commerce. I think they really need to make sure if you're doing a very strong FBA program and you're fulfilling through Amazon, and we do have to understand Amazon is where people go through, not just to buy products, but to get product information. So it's a good channel there. But now you got to look at and say, if I'm relying heavily on FBA for the Prime box, maybe I should also ensure that I have a good, strong FBM or fulfillment by merchant, and I can have a backup to that, right? But by doing that, you also have to anticipate a little bit. This will be the only time I'll give a little bit of a plug to who we are and what we do. But you have to really look at that third-party channel. You got to look at those third-party sellers, because they're going to get their hands on that product. And there's applications right now. I can take this little fancy phone. I could scan this bottle cap. It can tell me every bit of my margins, FBA, and I can list it right there in Amazon in my store. So if they're doing that in all of these retailer shops, and those types of things, well, they're going to start infringing on those brands, and they're going to start having that. So you have to keep your channel clean, or you're going to get price erosion. You're also going to get consumer confidence issues. And having the right reseller policies and distribution agreements in place is key. But now investigating and shutting down those third-party sellers as much as possible is going to be really critical going into the holiday season to ensure that your clients are getting the highest level of customer service. But more importantly, right, your channel's clean, and your authorized sales channel is going to actually benefit from what they're doing, right? Because you have to, when brick and mortar is closing down, you have to adjust that as a manufacturer, and you want to make sure those POs are going out and you're moving product, and people are going to buy your product in anticipation to sell them. And they can't sell them if they're competing against unauthorized sellers that don't adhere to your policies or your pricing. And they're going to drive pricing down, which is going to create that ripple effect throughout your channel.
So let's say I'm a small boutique shop here in Boise, Idaho, and I had to close down for 2 months. I've got a lot of inventory I need to sell. I might close down. I might close my shop. There's going to be thousands and thousands of those types of stores closing. So what can a manufacturer do to, secure their channel, to keep their channel from having all of these small little shops flooding marketplaces with this extra inventory that they might want to get rid of?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's going to be business decisions that there's going to have to be made. Either you're going to have to lower your pricing down to adjust for that. You're going to have to give some kind of a holiday benefit through your MAP program to allow for that, or buy the product back, which I know nobody wants to do. But you're going to have to assume that. And if these stores, I do want all my manufacturers to really listen to this. If they're your authorized reseller and they're a boutique firm and they're going out of business, understand they're not authorized anymore, because they're going out of business, and they're going to move inventory because they're going out of business. They're bankrupt. So are they going to sit on all that product? And do they really care about breaking your agreement because they're not going to be around anymore? So all those products going to hit the market, and they're going to sell them for whatever they can, because it's already a loss leader there, right? They're already losing money on it. So anything they can get. So you probably have to anticipate that and have to adjust for some of that too. And I don't have a magic wand for that one, because those guys are going to liquidate the product. And I think the best way to get ahead of that is just make sure that you have a very stable Amazon presence or e-commerce presence, and that you have a good line of communication with them when we go to enforce them, to have them move that off of the Prime maybe, or the buy box, to get them to a use like new or something where they still can have the opportunity to sell it, but they're not actually hurting the authorized side of the channel. And again, enforcements and stuff like that, it's not so much a cease and desist or demand letter. It's to start the communication. It's to start the conversation, to get somebody to be compliant, or some level of an agreement to allow both parties to be successful.
So I just want to pause here and mention, if any of our attendees today do have any questions, you're more than welcome to. There should be a Q&A spot. We'll do some Q&A afterward at the end of our conversation today. So just be aware of that. So one thing that we've talked a little bit about is like price erosion, consumer confidence. And, I'm going to be shopping probably a ton on Amazon for my holiday season. Being in this industry, I have a lot of reservations about buying product. And so I'm always looking at reviews. I'm always looking at, I'm scared of shopping at some other stores. Like, even some of the Walmart kind of third parties, I just don't have a lot of confidence sometimes in shopping online. And so what can brands do and this holiday season to help consumer confidence? And what's it going to look like this holiday season because of all of us shopping on Amazon?
I think that's a great question. I think that, I can tell you right now that I've got a very much a love-hate relationship with a lot of my really close friends because of what I do for a living. And when I kind of burst their bubble and tell them that 25% of everything on Amazon is either gray market or counterfeit, they're like, wait, what? I have packages coming today. And you're like, well, understand, that it doesn't mean that what you're buying, but just understand that that's out there, right? So there's a few pieces to that. So first, let's talk a little bit about what is a gray market or illicit good. When you have a commingling issue, and I'm going to assume that some of the people on our call are a little educated and versed in some of this terminology. I'll define a little bit. Commingling is when you send all your product into Amazon FBA, they throw it all together and then it ships out. But when things are commingled, we have a lot of manufacturers that, unfortunately, there's bad faith sellers, especially foreign sellers, they'll buy 100 legitimate of these, and they'll buy 500 counterfeit of these, commingle them themselves, send them out to 3 distribution centers. It goes out, gets further commingled, and now we just don't know. And that's the problem with an unauthorized seller. So education is key. I always, a lot of people have probably heard, the Howland Associates name be thrown around with some press releases, because a lot of times I encourage our manufacturers, when they engage with a very aggressive channel strategy, educate. Press release that, right? I don't care if you drop my name. I don't care if you drop whoever name you're working with, any technology name, but go out there and go further for our consumers and to ensure the highest level of quality of product and the safety of all of our consumers. We've instituted a new channel strategy, a new authorized sales channel. Please be assured to buy through an authorized reseller. And if you do not know who that is, communicate that with us. And a lot of our manufacturers will put where to buy on their program, who to buy from, and they even sometimes publish unauthorized sellers. So when you're looking at the third-party open marketplaces, as a consumer, you just go and look at that seller, right? You got to understand, you got to look at the seller, right? Don't always look at the reviews on maybe the product, but the reviews on the seller itself, and ensure who you're buying from is authorized, right? When you got ABC123 deals with a Z, that might not be an authorized reseller for Nike shoes. So if you're buying from them, you got to know sometimes if it's too good to be true, it might be true, or too good to be true, right? And look at the reviews. So just educate your consumer base and understand that if you have a product and you're successful, people absolutely are going to try to rip you off at some level. And I think that that's really key. And you're right. You and I, like everybody else, you're going to be buying a lot of stuff on Amazon. You're going to buy a lot of stuff on eBay, Google Shopping, open marketplaces. Just to ensure your clients know, ensure your channel knows. Let it have a good open line with your sales team and their customers. If you hear anything, you see something, let us know. We'll take actions on it as soon as possible. And that's where we can come in, or you have internal resources to really go out there and say, we heard these 3 things out there. We need to shut it down right away. Well, you take action right away. Don't sit on it. Longer you do, the more harm it will become.
So we've talked a little bit today. So we mentioned, securing your channel, making sure that the distribution channel is secure. And I think that you talked a little bit about that there needs to be some level of monitoring, some level of watching that channel to make sure that, third-party sellers aren't trying to get into that channel to sell product. You talked about education as some key things here, making sure marketing and your sales organization is up to speed. With all of those things, is there anything else that brands can do right now to prepare for, September, October, November, when they're going to be wanting to push and going to be wanting to make sure that their consumers are buying the right products and that they're that they're going to have a successful holiday season this year?
Yeah, I think it's never too late. Right now is the perfect time to start getting ahead of your channel issues. When I say it's never too late, once it happens, it gets a little harder, right? That's pretty common. But if we could head it off at the pass, like right now, start taking a look at that channel, take a look at what products may be hitting out there, roll out a new authorized reseller program, something of that nature. Doesn't have to be over complex. None of the stuff I'm talking about is complex. I mean, I'm a very simple individual and I want to keep it as simple as possible as we do these things. But you also want to take a look at maybe revamp some of your warranties. Take a look at it so you have a non-transferable warranty so you can protect yourself from, people arguing that I have the right to sell the product legitimately. Well, maybe they do, but with a well-crafted warranty, the first sale doctrine may not apply, so you can always adjust that to a used like new while enforcing them. Again, these are just tactics. Not all of them work, or some work up to 50, 80%, but it's a strategy. And I always say that when you're looking at a marketplace, you have to just say, okay, well, we're really focused on Amazon, but you have to understand if Amazon's where your primary focus, you have to know that Amazon actually crawls, actually matches Google Shopping. You got to look at what's going on out there a little bit further. You got to look at what's going on eBay. You got to just cast that net a little bit wider so you get a better understanding, what I call a snapshot of your channel. Take a look at what's out there. And then when you pull that back, lay out a strategy to be successful. And I think the strategy is just like you said. I mean, you got to have a good, strong, active monitoring for your channel. You have to have some due diligence or research or investigation tied to that. And you have to have an enforcement strategy. None of this is complicated. None of this has to be months and months of preparing. It's just saying that I have a authorized sales channel and I have a strategy to keep it clean. And by keeping it clean, I'm not only really protecting my consumer base, but I'm protecting my authorized sales channel, which is the one that's going to be my bread and butter and move the product the proper way.
So let's just kind of sum up, I guess. So I'm a brand owner. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. I think you kind of give us some ideas, I think, of what 2020 holiday season shopping is going to be like. So going to sum
up. What's 2021, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh gosh,
I mean,
what year is this right now? Huh?
God, I'm telling you, we just don't know, right?
So we've got a few questions, but maybe you can kind of sum up some of the points that you talked about today, and what, just sum those up, and then let's answer some questions that have come in as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, to sum it up, I think that my recommendation with any manufacturer is just make sure that, you do have those really good reseller agreements and MAP policies in place, right? You're only as good as the foundation you have set. So, here in Howell Associates, we like to review and take a look at MAP policies, make recommendations on it, right? There's always little things that you should have in there. I always like to say you need to have territories in both your agreements and your policies, and make sure that those territories aren't always geographical. Those are digital. And making sure that you have a clear line of communication on where they can and can't sell and how they offer your products. But once you do that, making sure that you have a good monitoring tool in place. It doesn't have to be something overly fancy, but something that you can keep a good vision on what your channel is doing right now. And understand a MAP policy is only good to your authorized channel, not your unauthorized. Your unauthorized are the ones that's going to hurt. So if you're just doing MAP monitoring, make sure that you're casting a little bit more of a wider net. So those unauthorized ones that break MAP, you have a strategy to go after those. Don't send them a MAP notice. I mean, that a MAP notice to an unauthorized seller means nothing. I think that's important. And just understanding what really is going to happen. And people have to, you can't, ignorance is not a defense. So they have to understand a lot of product is going to be flooding the market, a lot of it. And it's going to be flooding the market from all these brick and mortar. I did probably 10 webinars 2 years ago on a whole chain of webinars with a lot of companies and manufacturers talking about, retail apocalypse or retail Armageddon. And some of that was true. Some we probably overshot a little bit. Some companies reorganized, and we adjusted for that. Well, now we're looking at, big places like General Growth Properties, who owns all the malls in America, that are just, unfortunately, malls were just gone. Big anchor stores are gone. These things are going to start winding down aggressively. When you hear JCPenney's or Macy's and you hear all these ones, Gordman's, these things are going out of business. Shopko went out of business. Those products and those consumers are still there. Matter of fact, we have more consumers now than we had 10 years ago, right? So where are those consumers going and buying products? Online. Where are those products that were on the big box retail? Where are they going? They're going online. So just make sure you're looking at that. And if you're okay with all that product hitting out there, make sure your authorized sales channel know that you're doing discounts, you're doing seasonal things, you're doing something that's allowing, because the unauthorized is going to affect the authorized, and you don't want to upset that. I always say a clean channel is a happy channel, right? So we want to make sure that we have some of that. So it's not too late. I think, Noel, you wanted, and I put together kind of a strategy document that we're going to give out after this. Anybody who would like that, it's just a, kind of a brief strategy on what you should look for and how to lay out a good, clean channel. Reach out to us after the thing. I think reach out to you, Noel, and we'll send that over to you so you have a good kind of a line there. But that's all I would really say is just prepare now. Don't wait. It's easier to do it now. It's also cheaper for any company to engage, whether it's me or any other law firm or anybody like that. Engage now. It's cheaper than when the problems happen. And then, I think there was a funny meme a while back that said, your emergency isn't my urgency, right? So, you just want to make sure that you prepare.
So we've got a couple questions, and I apologize. I think that there might be, I've had some come in through the chat. If anybody has, the Q&A thing is not showing everything for me here. So.
Well, one of them said, I actually look at this one, wondering what your opinion is on Black Friday if COVID is solved prior to Black Friday. Okay, hope is not a strategy, but that's kind of I think that was probably more of a kind of a, I don't even know, rhetorical question. It doesn't matter whether COVID's cured. It doesn't matter what happens by then. We hope it is. We hope the election goes smooth, right? We hope things don't always get politicized. But unfortunately, everything that we talked about today, the COVID is just one aspect of it. And that's probably more of the ability to go to some of the stores out there to shop. But all those stores that's closed down, those products are already going to be out there. I can go right now to the Pier 1 Imports right now, and the entire store is 70% off. So if there's product in there and I'm scanning it on my phone and it's 70% off and I fill my shopping cart for $1,000 worth of product, I can go and triple my money on Amazon. People are going to do that. So it doesn't matter whether COVID's there or not. The stores are already shutting down, and those products are already going to hit that market. So, I mean, that's something that I would just tell people to think about a little bit.
So we've got a couple questions here. So let's see. Let me read this here. We're in the supplement. We're a supplement company, and this hasn't happened to us yet. How do we know this is going to happen to us?
So it's a good question. Well, one, whenever it's a supplement, I hold companies that if you put it, if you consume it, it goes in or on your body. I hold those companies at a much higher level for a channel compliance, right? Because unfortunately, if it's traditional retail arbitrage where people are getting that product at end caps at stores, or a GNC is going out of business and they're closing it down, and that's a supplement and it's showing up on Amazon, that's a product quality issue. It's also a health and hazard issue. So I think companies like that, if it hasn't happened yet, amen. Great for you, but don't be naive in the fact that it's not going to, and especially if you have a good product. And I know I can see the brand here, and I won't give a shout out to them. I don't want to embarrass them or anything, but they've built a great brand. It's a good, strong brand name. And the more you build up a brand, it is a bit of a flattery when people start ripping you off, but it's also something you got to adjust to. So it's not happening now, but just make sure you got the foundation for when it does, because it's not a matter of well, it is a matter of when.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks. All right, let's see. Next one here. I'm in the pet med industry, and I have a very tight channel. Is this something we can get ahead of?
So that's another great question, and I don't. It's been a little bit of a paradigm shift over the last couple of years where we've done a lot in the pet meds, which is probably why there's a handful of those companies on the webinar today. I think it's a bit of a kind of a naive when you think that you have a very tight channel through distribution. And I know that they do. Most of it is because it's pet meds. It's still based on a script, even though it's for pets. Those things still have to have some level of a script or a veterinary doctor to actually prescribe that. The problem is where I do know of one pet med, they have one distributor. But that distributor then distributes down to something like 15,000 vet clinics across the entire country. Those vet clinics are all mom and pop shops, and there's a lot of samples in there. There's a lot of stores. There's a lot of A lot of that happens out there. And now you have to understand you have a very large channel, but you have a very tight distribution. What happens after that fact, right? And and depending on the type of pets it is, if it is a script pet, that may be a little bit different, but a lot of them aren't necessarily script, but they're still a channel of consumables, whether it's dog chews or it's breath or flea and tick or things of that nature. And when you have that large, it kind of goes back to that Ace Hardware where I was talking about, where Ace Hardware may be a very good player in the field, but the 5,000 stores below that are not. Well, it's the same thing a little bit with the pet med industry. And because of the internet, because Amazon is talking about, I believe they have it on there. I'm sorry if I'm overstepping because I don't know enough of this, but they're start talking about their own prescription and RX channel within the Amazon. And it makes sense, right? Because you can have a tight door-to-door signature on this product if it's script. When that happens, I mean, that's just going to open it up a little bit more for a lot of these clinics to actually go ahead and do that. So again, the pet meds they really do have a tight distribution channel, but a vast reseller. So much where they don't even have signed agreements anymore. They just have terms and conditions.
Interesting. Okay, so I think this might be, okay, actually this one just came in, and I think, well, let's do this other one that's been here for a while. We're a clothing manufacturer, and a couple of our big box stores are having trouble. You've talked about it in JCPenney's. What can we do to prepare ourselves? Is there something we should be worried about? I think we talked a little bit about that, but what can they do to be prepared?
Yeah, clothing is always one of those things. I mean, you and I joke about this all the time, right? I'm kind of a big guy, right? I like to think I got an athletic build, but that's open for debate. But a lot of people still don't like to go and buy clothing online, right? They like to go to those big box retailers, and if JCPenney's just closed down locally, do they go over to the Macy's and do they do that? And if we have, the pandemic resurgence, or, maybe you're in a position where you don't want to wear a mask, right? A lot of people are kind of anti that right now. And despite where you're at, if you are at the point where you still want that type of clothing and you don't want to go to the store, you're buying it online. And when you buy these clothes online, and you buy it from an unauthorized third-party seller, do you have the ability to return it? Do you have the quality control that goes along with that? Can you, whatever their terms and conditions are, Amazon's got a pretty good channel with that, but even some of the third-party sellers that ship direct, right, fulfillment by merchant, they don't have returns. So you're buying a shirt that may not fit. And we all know I love polos and I like Nike shirts, and very strange, their quality control is not always the greatest. So 1XL may fit like a medium or a large, and vice versa. So now I'm buying multiple ones. And I think it's pretty common for the majority of consumers that you're buying multiple of this because you are buying online, you still want that product, but how can you return it? Or are you in a position where you assume you can return this product, but you can't because it is an unauthorized seller and they don't accept returns, and you don't know that. And this goes to one point, I think that when I talk about my friends when they get frustrated, years back when I tried to educate them a little bit on how Amazon works, they just thought they were buying everything from Amazon. They didn't even know what a third-party seller was, right? So it's again going back to that authorized, and there's a few people on the call today too. I'm sure if you go look at some of their products and they got 23 other sellers that are offered by, that's an issue, right? That's something that it shows a channel erosion, price erosion, things of that nature. But clothing is always a challenge. You have variations, right? You have a lot of variations in color and size, and it's a challenge. But it's not something that you can't get behind. We've got a couple of shoe manufacturers that we've been knocking out of the ballpark with them, but it's not something that happens overnight. It's setting that foundation.
Okay. Let's see here. I think the last question that I can see here, I have a bad feeling we'll see an influx of unauthorized sellers prior to Black Friday. What can I do to protect my authorized storefront? I think that kind of goes to that other one, I might be able to get some supply of product from JCPenney's closing or wherever it is. So what can I do to protect my authorized storefront from all these unauthorized sellers?
Well, I think it's a good question. I think it's actually think Maurice was posing that question because he was talking with a client today, but I think it's fair. I think when you have a huge influx of unauthorized third-party sellers, please understand that there is a level of professional unauthorized sellers that will tell you to go pound sand, right? They don't care any notices or anything like that. But most of those professional unauthorized sellers is getting rogue distribution. What we talked about today, and we talk about the big box retailers and people just trying to make a buck. And, I call that the traditional retail arbitrage, right? Where you're just getting the product at discount or in caps or whatever. A lot of these sellers, you just put them on notice or you send them a nice communique letter, they'll go away or they'll adjust or they'll become compliant and maybe they'll move it over to eBay or move it somewhere where it doesn't affect the channel so much. And I think that's where it comes down to. It's communicating with them. But everybody has to understand that if there's a huge influx of third-party sellers, part of that is you have to identify who they are and you got to investigate because the majority of these people, they're going to hide behind that. And understand too, Amazon did do a press release and they did say they're going to start providing Amazon information. Just understand the minute they do that, those sellers are now going to be 3 levels underneath that DBA because they're just not going to want that hat tipped. So it doesn't mean that the information will be at some level valid, but if you want to send out a correspondence, you want to send out an enforcement document, you kind of need to make sure that you know who it is. Send that first notice. That first notice doesn't always have to be aggressive or mean or demanding. It could just be a correspondence. We have an authorized sales channel. You're outside of that. We would like, please remove that from here. And just any questions, communicate with us. That's all you really got to do. And I think that you'll be successful.
Okay, so I got a question here. Let's see here. This is a lengthy question that you did write. So whoever wrote this, thanks for writing this lengthy question. So we are in the home improvement space. At the moment, we're seeing diversion of our products from traditional retail like Ace, Do It Best, True Value. These independent-owned co-op affiliates are offloading product on marketplaces and hindering our brand, and hindering how our brand is represented. We have an authorized retailer program in place, and we have modified our warranty to not cover products purchased from unauthorized sellers. So that's great that you're doing that. How can we begin holding these traditional retail players such as Ace, Do It Best, True Value more accountable to pass down our policies and explain to their members what they can and cannot do? Did you see that question? That's a long one. I don't know if
I did. And he and I go back a ways, and I would expect nothing less. So good question. And actually, if you would ask me this question probably 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had a very good answer for it. And we wouldn't want to research. However, when you talk about the Do It Best, Ace Hardware, and True Value, we've actually been working with them over the last 2 years, year and a half at least for sure, for a handful of our clients. It's been our experience that they are very open to having an addendum signed to that reseller agreement. And even so much as I think we've had 2 clients just within the last year where they actually put that on their product offering through the Ace Hardware side and stuff. They'll have an internet restricted on there saying that if you buy this, it's for your in-store only, it's internet restricted. Now, also, Ace Hardware, True Value, and Do It Best, because we work with them and we're what we call, I guess, a good faith player for them, they have provided us all of their contact information for every one of their brick and mortar and every one of their co-op stores. They've done that because now they've tipped their hat and said, hey, we want to be authorized. Here's who everybody we work with and we distribute to. If you find them, go back, you can communicate with them directly and let us know. So you can work with them to have that trickle down effect a little bit. And they'll work with you to identify who these people are and then alert them through an Ace Hardware, True Value, as well as we'll do it direct. And I think by getting that double prong approach, they'll be compliant. Now I know Maurice, my other business partner, he had a couple conversations and some of these sellers already had a lot of product and they were already being shipped into the FBA. And there's business decisions. That seller actually said, well, I did not know that. I apologize. Is there any way I can at least sell through that product? And he gave a verbal commitment to sell that product at MAP. And I'm like, okay, well, if he's willing to be good faith and open up that dialogue, maybe we'll allow that to happen only through that, but later, no more. And they were okay doing that. So I think it's easy to solve. You just have to go through that and go about the right steps to do so.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's all the questions that we had come in today. So thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate the time. This is a fun conversation. Again, if anybody would like to get some more information on that document, best practice document, happy to send that to you. Just reach out. We did record this today. We'll make it available as well for your viewing in the future. All right. Thank you.
Again, I do appreciate it, Noah. Thank you for setting this up. I thank everybody for participating today. And please understand, if anybody knows me, they know that I'm very open with education. So I want to just educate. Don't hesitate to reach out. We're not going to sit here and try to sell you anything or pitch you anything aggressively. That's not what we're about here at Howland Associates. We want to put you in the best position to be successful as you move forward with your channel. We would love to be able to work with you, but if not, I want you to have all the tools that you need to go out and be successful. So don't hesitate to reach out to Noel or myself. And again, I wish everybody the best, and thanks for attending today.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.